Hi everyone, Mike Hall here, CEO of Just Collecting and Paul Fraser Collectibles. I'm joined today by my daughter Abigail, who has just finished university after getting a 2-1 in English literature, which is a bit of an achievement because she's dyslexic. So she's helping out for now before she begins the next chapter in her life. So, what we'd like to cover today is how to identify Stanley Gibbons catalogue quality stamps. Now, the thing I'd say up front is that catalogue quality stamps are rare. The vast majority of stamps you will see for sale would not meet the condition criteria to be called catalogue quality. And as a result of that, catalogue quality stamps are very valuable. Now, there's a lot of things that we need to look at to determine what is catalogue quality. That includes the gum, perforations for perforated stamps, the centering, the margins for non-perforated stamps, cancellations on used stamps, and any damages. And I'll be covering each of these areas in more detail in this video. So what I'd like to do now is, by way of some examples of actual stamps, show you what Stanley Gibbons catalogue quality actually looks like. And for each stamp, I'll cover the factors that you're looking at. So to start off with, mint stamps. Now, the first thing that it may be of surprise to you, but the gum on the back of the stamp is far more significant to the value of a mint stamp than anything else. Now, the reason for that is that the vast majority of stamps have been, throughout history, collected and put in an album. And collectors used to use stamp hinges that were hinged into an album. And when that hinge is removed, some of the gum would be removed with it. So finding an unmounted mint stamp where there's never been a hinge on it and the gum's clean is incredibly rare, and the holy grail of stamp collecting that you would want to find. So let's start off with a stamp now, Abby, and show an example. So this is the 1891 £1 green Queen Victoria stamp, also called the long £1, for obvious reasons. Now you'll see it's been overprinted specimen. Now that is because it was used exclusively by post offices as a reference stamp to detect potential forgeries in the mail. Now if you turn it over, you'll see what I mean by unmounted mint. So this stamp has all its gum in place and the gum is clean. And for this particular issue, that is an incredibly rare occurrence. Okay. Now, there's another thing you need to understand is for British Commonwealth and Empire stamps, the Stanley Gibbons catalogue prices things based on lightly hinged mint examples. So arguably unmounted mint Commonwealth stamps are worth more than catalogue values. Now lightly hinged for modern stamps would really have to be the briefest mark of a hinge that's been removed. For pre-1900 stamps, you can have a more evidence of a hinge would be acceptable without diminishing the value. But what you have to bear in mind is heavily hinged examples. The discount catalogue value can be 50% all the way up to 90% reduction in value, so it has a huge impact. So what I'm going to show you now is a stamp, well, it's a block of 4 from Newfoundland, issued in 1932. Now, if you look at the back of this one, this is actually a lightly hinged example. Now, I don't even know whether you can see on the camera that there's a hinge mark in that because it's so light, but that's what we're talking about when we're talking about catalogue quality. Okay. So next thing I'll cover is non-perforated stamps. So before perforations were invented, it was all about the margins. Now back then, postal workers were very busy cutting stamp sheets, and it's very rare to find 4 even margins, and quite often there's only 3 or even less on a stamp. So if you use the penny black as an example of that, a 4 margin penny black is worth about 3 times that of a 3 margin penny black. So Abby's now going to bring on a very valuable example. Now this is a mint pair of penny blacks from a very early impression of the very first printing plate, plate 1A. And as you can see, all four margins are very clear, and it is a real philatelic gem, and worth a lot of money as well. So be very careful as you put it back. Now, moving on to perforated stamps, that's quite a complex area, so I'll keep it relatively brief. But what you're looking for is where the edge of the design and the perforations, the gap on each side is the same. That makes it well centered. Now, really, for modern stamps, that's important. For older stamps, sometimes there's no such thing as a perfectly well centered example, and you need to be more forgiving. The other thing I'd say is the US market is really focused on how well centered stamps are, and there's much bigger premiums in the US market for well centered examples. So if we now take a look at something that is well centered, this is a 1933 stamp from the Falkland Islands, centenary issue. That's called the Penguin stamp. It's a lovely stamp, one of my favourites. And as you can see, this has got very good perforations and well centered. Now, what you'll find with a lot of stamps, that's fine, what you'll find with a lot of stamps is that there'll be a few short perforations or some perforations bend. Now, this can reduce the value by up to 25%. So now moving on to used stamps, where it's all about the cancellations. Again, this is a complex area. Now, you get rare cancellations where perhaps the post office was open for a short period of time, and very few surviving examples from that post office exist, and that's a study area of its own right. But if we just take the basics of used catalogue quality, there's two sort of elements to this. The first you're looking for is lightly cancelled, where the majority of the image is still visible. So we're now going to move on to a seriously valuable stamp, which is worth £100,000 in the catalogue. Now, this is Canada's most important and valuable stamp, issued in 1851. It's affectionately known as the Black Empress. And as you can see, it's got a part target cancel, but exceptionally, it leaves the entire profile clear, which makes a very desirable example of this key stamp. That's great. Put that one back carefully. The also desirable, and something I quite like, I have to admit, is where the cancellation is central and clear. It's very aesthetically pleasing, I find, and I'm just going to show you an example of that. Now, this is the Two Penny Blue, which was issued in May 1840, at the same time as the Penny Black, and it's got a very clear and crisp Maltese cross cancellation, which I think is stunning. I personally just love these used Tuppy Blues for whatever reason I can't explain. That's great. The last section I'll just touch on, it's another big area, but I'll give you a brief introduction. When it comes to older stamps, bear in mind stamps are fragile pieces of paper. Most of them get damaged. Now, you can have tears, creases, and all sorts of things can go wrong. Now, the thing to bear in mind for modern stamps, creased modern stamps are worth something like 10% of catalogue value. So that's something you really need to bear in mind when you're thinking what something's worth when you're buying it. For much rarer stamps, more imperfections are tolerated, and there can be stamps that are like from Victorian era with creases that the discount would be quite small. Also, for older stamps, you can have colour changes, and that could be caused by sunlight or water damage. And to be frank, any stamps that are the colours significantly faded, they're pretty much worthless. And stamps from tropical countries are notorious for damage because of the climate and the humid conditions. And you quite often see black spots on stamps from those countries, which diminish their value. So when you find a stamp like our final stamp we're illustrating today, this is from 1872, and it's quite remarkable that the colour is as fresh as it was when it was printed all those years ago. And that's what makes this stamp remarkable and worth catalogue value, in my opinion. Thank you very much, Abby. So, final bit of advice I'd give you is that if you're looking to build a valuable collection, I would say that you should focus on quality first and price second. And arguably, you should be willing to pay more to get the finest quality examples. And the reason for that is all you got to do is look at auction realizations. The stamps that get the big realizations that are like above catalogue value, sometimes double or even more, are the finest quality rare examples in existence. So we've showed you a few examples today. We've got thousands more you can view if you click on the link below. Many more catalogue quality stamps for you to peruse on our website. I hope you found this brief introduction to catalogue quality of use. Thank you very much for watching, and if you enjoyed it, please like below, and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel to see more videos. Now, thank you very much.